Beneath the blue expanse of the Mediterranean lies a secret that could shatter our history books. This is not just a sea, it is a sunken graveyard for a forgotten technological empire. By the end of this journey, you will see the ancient world through an entirely new lens, one where advanced engineering predates our oldest legends by thousands of years. What happened to the sophisticated society that built a computer 2 millennia before we thought it was possible? And why did their world vanish beneath the waves? Does our own civilization stand on the shoulders of giants we no longer remember? The Mediterranean's placid surface conceals a violent and ever-changing past. To find a lost civilization, we must first read the geological story written on the seafloor. This story begins with a cataclysm of almost unimaginable scale. Roughly 5.3 million years ago, the Strait of Gibraltar fractured, and the Atlantic Ocean came thundering in. This event, known as the Zanclean Flood, transformed a vast, briny basin into the vibrant sea we recognize. But in doing so, it drowned an entire world of ancient coastlines that may have cradled the earliest human societies. Much later, the planet's great ice ages locked away vast quantities of water. Sea levels plummeted, exposing sprawling plains and river valleys that are now hundreds of feet beneath the waves. These were not barren wastelands, but lush, habitable landscapes. Prehistoric humans could have walked from what is now Italy to North Africa, their settlements perched on the banks of rivers that now flow silently through the abyss. Then the ice melted and the sea reclaimed its territory, swallowing these lands and any trace of the people who lived there. But the earth here is never still. The immense tectonic forces that shape the region are still at work. Along the Hellenic Arc and the Calabrian subduction zone, one continental plate grinds beneath another. This relentless pressure causes the land to simply sink. It is not a slow, uniform descent, but a violent process punctuated by earthquakes and tsunamis capable of dragging entire settlements into the deep in a single, catastrophic day. Modern underwater cartography reveals the ghost of this lost world with stunning clarity. We can now map drowned river channels that once carved canyons through dry land. We find submerged cave systems, their entrances now facing the deep, which once provided shelter, fresh water, and sacred spaces for our ancestors. These geological processes did more than just reshape the coast, they actively erased evidence. They buried cities under layers of silt and sand and preserved them in cold, dark, oxygen-poor environments that can protect wood, bone, and even more delicate materials for millennia. This dynamic environment is not a barrier to discovery, but a guide. By understanding where the land sank, where the rivers once flowed, and where caves provided refuge, we can begin to predict where the ruins of a forgotten technological empire might be hiding. The geological canvas sets the stage, and it is upon this sunken landscape that we must now search for the first tangible clues of its builders. Far from the Mediterranean, in the waters off a remote Japanese island, a discovery emerged that seemed to speak a familiar architectural language. The Yonaguni monument is a colossal, terraced structure rising from the seafloor, a sprawling complex of sharp 90-degree angles, massive steps, and what appear to be wide processional pathways. To the trained eye of marine geologist Masaki Kimura, this is not a random geological formation. He has dedicated years to mapping its features, identifying what look like carved star platforms, a distinct triangular pool, and intricate channels that seem too precise, too repetitive, to be solely the work of natural forces. His controversial conclusion is that this is a ceremonial complex, deliberately constructed over 10,000 years ago, when this site was dry land, part of a vast coastal plain now lost to the rising seas. The debate between a natural sandstone formation shaped by tidal forces and a man-made masterpiece is fierce, but the implications are staggering. If this is indeed the work of human hands, it points to a sophisticated, seafaring culture possessing advanced stone-working skills at a time when our history books insist humans were simple hunter-gatherers. This single site shatters the conventional timeline, suggesting that monumental architecture is far older than we ever conceived, and the echoes do not stop in Japan. Curiously similar submerged structures have been found near Malta and Sicily in the Mediterranean, featuring the same kind of rectilinear designs and what look like ritual basins. This is not necessarily proof of the same builders, but it strongly hints at a shared, lost knowledge of engineering, a common architectural fingerprint left by cultures we have yet to name. The Yonaguni monument stands as a powerful warning against underestimating our ancestors. It forces us to ask if the technological prowess required to shape such stone was not a local anomaly, but a capability that spanned oceans, a capability that would have been perfectly at home along the sunken coastlines of the ancient Mediterranean. This profound mystery in the Pacific sets the stage for an even more incredible find, one that was pulled from a shipwreck and rewrote the history of technology itself. While the debate over Yonaguni continues, there is a sunken city in the Mediterranean that offers no such ambiguity. Off the coast of southern Greece, the ruins of Pavlopetri lie in silent, undeniable testimony. This is not a collection of scattered stones, but a complete Bronze Age metropolis, its foundations dating back more than 5,000 years. Discovered in 1967 by oceanographer Nicholas Fleming, the city spans an area equivalent to several modern city blocks, a sprawling urban center that has been sleeping beneath the waves for 3 millennia. Walking its ghostly streets, a diver can trace the clear outlines of 2-story buildings, courtyards, and even tombs, all arranged in a deliberate grid that speaks of a master urban plan. This was a place of community and order, a hub of daily life that thrived 1,000 years before the rise of classical Athens. The true marvel of Pavlopetri is not just its age, but its state of preservation. The very catastrophe that drowned it, a combination of rising seas and powerful earthquakes around 1000 BCE, also sealed it in a time capsule. Underwater excavations led by the University of Nottingham have pulled back the silt to reveal a society of surprising sophistication. They found not just pottery, but loom weights by the dozen, evidence of a thriving textile industry that clothed its citizens and likely supplied trade goods. The pottery itself tells a story of far-reaching connections, with fragments imported from Crete and other Aegean powers, proving this city was a node in a vast and sophisticated maritime trade network. At the heart of this aquatic ghost town lies a central megaron, a great hall that would have been the residence of a ruling elite. This architectural feature confirms a hierarchical social structure, a community with leaders, artisans, and laborers all functioning within an organized system. Pavlopetri forces a profound reconsideration of our past. It demonstrates that the concept of the city, with its centralized authority and complex economy, is not a slow invention of the later ancient world, but a reality that existed millennia earlier. This was not a primitive village, but a functioning port city with a blueprint for urban living. Its existence challenges the comfortable narrative of a gradual, linear cultural evolution. If one such city could be lost, how many more once lined the now submerged coastlines of the Mediterranean, their stories waiting to be uncovered? Pavlopetri is a confirmed piece of the puzzle, a tangible trace of a lost world, but it is the discovery of a single, inexplicable device that truly shatters our understanding of ancient technology. While the silent streets of Pavlopetri reveal a lost urban world, another Mediterranean shipwreck yielded an object that speaks not of cities, but of celestial minds. In 1901, sponge divers off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera stumbled upon a Roman cargo ship filled with marble and bronze statues. Among the treasures was a lump of corroded bronze and wood, so encrusted and unassuming it was almost overlooked. Decades later, when it cracked open, researchers found inside a clockwork marvel that should not have existed for another 1,500 years. This is the Antikythera Mechanism, an ancient Greek analog computer of staggering complexity. X-ray and advanced surface imaging have peeled back the layers of time to reveal a labyrinth of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears, precisely machined and housed in a wooden case. This was not a toy, it was a sophisticated astronomical calculator. By turning a hand crank, an operator could predict the movement of the sun and the moon, forecast lunar and solar eclipses, and even track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. The device modeled the irregular orbit of the moon with such accuracy that it required a clever pin and slot mechanism to mimic the cosmic wobble we call lunar anomaly. It utilized a concept known as differential gearing, a technology so advanced it does not reappear in the historical record until the 16th century, inside the first mechanical clocks. This was not a one-off miracle. The intricate inscriptions covering its surfaces act as a detailed user manual, explaining which dials correspond to which planets and celestial events. The very existence of such instructions implies this device was not a singular secret, but part of a known tradition, a technology that was taught, replicated, and understood. Scholars like Tony Freeth believe it was likely built in a center of learning such as Rhodes or Syracuse, hubs of astronomical and engineering knowledge. The Antikythera Mechanism is physical, undeniable proof that a branch of ancient science had achieved a mechanical sophistication we never attributed to them. It forces a humbling question. If this one device, lost in a shipwreck and preserved by chance, survived to rewrite our history books, how many other marvels of engineering have been lost to time or lie waiting in the silt of other sunken cities? This single relic suggests that the lost empire we seek may not have been one of just grand architecture, but of profound scientific insight, a civilization that looked to the stars and built machines to map their paths. The Antikythera Mechanism proves the ancients possessed a science we are only beginning to comprehend, but what of the sheer physical might required to build on an epic scale? The answer may lie not in a shipwreck, but beneath the turquoise waters surrounding the islands of Malta. Here, the stones themselves tell a story of a land that has lost a battle with the sea. Malta is already famous for its staggering megalithic temples, structures like Haga Kim that predate Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids. Yet recent underwater surveys have revealed that the true extent of this building frenzy lies partially drowned. Just off the coast, sonar and divers have mapped what appear to be the foundational walls of temples, now resting in the silent, shallow waters. Even more compelling are the mysterious cart ruts. These are deep, parallel grooves carved directly into the island's limestone bedrock, often running in intricate, intersecting networks. The most baffling aspect is that many of these tracks run straight off cliffs and continue across the seafloor, disappearing into the deep blue. This is not a minor detail, it is a geological stopwatch. For these ruts to have been carved, the land they traverse had to be dry and accessible. Their path now submerged means they were created when sea levels were dramatically lower, over 6,000 years ago. That date alone is a seismic shock to conventional timelines. Archaeologists like Hubert Zeitelmeyer have championed the study of these sites, arguing they are remnants of a much larger ritual and habitation complex that was consumed by the Mediterranean due to tectonic subsidence, a slow but relentless sinking of the land itself. The construction techniques seen in these sunken ruins are a perfect match for the temples on dry land. They feature the same colossal limestone blocks, some weighing many tons, fitted together with astonishing precision and without a single drop of mortar. This was not a different culture, it was the same one, simply building on coastlines that no longer exist. If these underwater structures are confirmed to be man-made, and the evidence is mounting, they force a complete re-evaluation of the Maltese temple builders. This was not an isolated island culture, but likely a maritime society with the resources, organization, and seafaring confidence to erect monumental structures along its vast, now vanished shorelines. They were not just building on hills, they were building ports, complexes, and processional ways that connected to a world now drowned. The giant stones of Malta, both above and below the waves, challenge the very core of our historical narrative. They present a portrait of a Neolithic society with engineering ambitions so grand, they built a world that we can now only find by diving beneath the sea. The legendary pharaoh's lighthouse once cast its beam across the ancient world, a symbol of Alexandria's immense power. Today, its shattered stones lie scattered on the seafloor, but they are just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The true scale of this sunken harbor is only now being revealed by underwater archaeologists like Frank Gaudio, who have mapped a drowned district of staggering opulence and engineering genius. This was not merely a port, it was the very heart of a maritime empire. Beneath the waves, divers have traced the outlines of Cleopatra's royal palace, its foundations now home to silent statues of sphinxes and the gods. They have found the crumbled remains of Antirodos, an entire island that once held a private royal retreat, complete with its own grand palace and port facilities, all now resting in the harbor silt. The catastrophe that sent this world to the bottom was not a single event, but a relentless assault. A series of powerful earthquakes, most notably in the 4th and 8th centuries, struck the unstable foundation of the city. These quakes triggered devastating tsunamis and a terrifying phenomenon known as soil liquefaction, where solid ground instantly turns into a fluid slurry, swallowing entire neighborhoods whole. Yet even in ruin, the harbor's advanced design is clear. The Romans and Egyptians who built it constructed massive breakwaters and advanced hydraulic installations to protect the port from the sea's fury. They created a haven for ships from across the known world, vessels whose wrecked hulls still litter the bottom, laden with artifacts that speak of global trade. The sunken harbor of Alexandria is more than a collection of beautiful ruins. It is a direct window into the technological ambition that fueled an empire. This was a civilization that did not just build monuments, it engineered the very infrastructure of global connection. And if such a sophisticated hub could vanish beneath the Mediterranean, what other centers of ancient technology remain hidden, waiting for their story to be told? The silent stones of Menorca tell a story not just of land, but of a lost relationship with the sea. This Balearic island is famous for its talayots, the enigmatic stone towers that have guarded its hills for over 4,000 years, yet the most revealing chapters of this story are now underwater. Recent sonar surveys scanning the seafloor off the coast have detected something startling, anomalous structures that defy easy geological explanation. In the shallow waters where the continental shelf was once dry and fertile land, the scans reveal the ghostly outlines of circular foundations and long, linear walls resting on the seabed. These are not random formations, they bear the distinct architectural fingerprint of the Talaiotic culture, a people who mastered the art of Cyclopean masonry, building with massive stones fitted together without mortar. Their legacy on land includes the Navatas' collective tombs shaped like inverted ships, a design that seems to whisper of their deep connection to the maritime world. This connection is being physically proven in submerged caves near Calan Porta, where underwater excavations have brought up pottery shards and lithic tools from the silt. These caves, with their entrances now facing the abyss, were once dry grottos providing shelter, fresh water, and perhaps sacred spaces for rituals when the coastline was miles farther out. Researchers, including Dr. Manuel Calvo, are piecing together a compelling new theory. They propose that these underwater sites are not isolated anomalies, but the remnants of a deliberate settlement pattern. The Talaiotic people did not merely live inland, they established outposts and villages directly on the coast, exploiting the rich resources of a landscape that has since been flooded. The presence of these structures beneath the waves completely transforms our understanding of this society. It implies a significant maritime component, a culture of skilled sailors who likely engaged in fishing, trade, and communication across the Western Mediterranean. They were not just building towers to look out at the sea, they were actively navigating it, building a world that extended onto what is now the continental shelf. The submerged sites of Menorca are more than just drowned ruins. They are crucial evidence of a people who adapted to a changing world, whose true territorial expanse and cultural influence have been literally erased from the map by rising seas. This discovery on a single island hints at a much broader reality, a submerged network of interconnected island cultures whose full scope and sophistication remain one of the Mediterranean's deepest secrets. Far out in the open Atlantic, the Azores Islands rise from a landscape born of fire and water. Here, the ocean holds a mystery that challenges the very map of the ancient world. Sonar scans of the seafloor around these volcanic islands have detected startling formations, structures with starkly symmetrical, pyramid-like shapes resting at depths of up to 40 meters. These are not the gentle slopes of a natural seamount. They exhibit sharp right angles and terraced sides that appear meticulously planned. Portuguese archaeologist Nuno Ribeiro has led the study of these enigmatic anomalies, arguing that their geometric precision is a powerful indicator of an artificial origin. If he is correct, these structures were built on dry land, at a time when so much of the world's water was locked in ice, a time over 10,000 years ago when the global sea level was dramatically lower. The Azores sit directly atop the tectonically volatile mid-Atlantic ridge, a region that has seen land masses repeatedly emerge from and sink beneath the ocean over countless millennia. This geological context is crucial. It provides a mechanism for how a coastal settlement, or even a complex, could have been gradually swallowed by the rising seas. The implications of a human origin are staggering. It would mean a sophisticated culture possessed the shipbuilding and navigational skill to cross the vast, open Atlantic Ocean thousands of years before the Phoenicians and millennia before the Vikings. This single idea shatters the conventional narrative of human migration, which holds that such a voyage was impossible before a certain point in technological history. Even more tantalizing are the visual and symbolic parallels. The terraced, pyramidal forms bear a striking, almost haunting resemblance to the ceremonial platforms built in ancient Mesoamerica, and even some of the earlier mound structures found around the Mediterranean. This has led to inevitable speculation about pre-Columbian transoceanic contact, suggesting a forgotten network of maritime explorers who left their architectural signature across the globe. Of course, skepticism is a necessary part of the process. Many geologists contend that these are simply the product of unique volcanic processes, where molten rock cools and fractures into surprisingly angular formations. The debate is far from settled, yet the very existence of this controversy pushes the boundaries of what we believe our ancestors were capable of achieving. The underwater pyramids of the Azores remain one of the most profound and contentious traces of a potential lost civilization, a silent, submerged puzzle waiting for a definitive key. The silent, silt-covered ruins of Heracleion hold the key to a gateway that history forgot. For centuries, this legendary port city was thought to be a myth, a tale told by Greek historians of a magnificent trading hub at the mouth of the Nile where Egyptian pharaohs welcomed Greek heroes. Then, in the year 2000, after years of searching the murky waters of Baltic Bay, underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudio and his team found it. Resting 6.5 kilometers off the Egyptian coast, the city of Heracleion, also known as Thonis, had been sleeping on the seafloor for over 2,000 years. The first sight to emerge from the gloom was a colossal red granite statue of a pharaoh, his stern gaze fixed for eternity, followed by the regal form of a queen and a pantheon of Egyptian gods. These giant sentinels were not lying in random collapse. They stood guard over the remains of their temples, marking a sacred landscape frozen in a moment of catastrophic surrender. The city did not sink slowly. It was swallowed in a sudden, violent event. The ground beneath Heracleion was built on unstable clay, and when a powerful earthquake struck around the 2nd century before the Common Era, the soil underwent a terrifying transformation. The solid earth turned instantly to liquid, a process called liquefaction, and the immense weight of the city's grand stone buildings became their own anchor, dragging them into the abyss. This was not a gradual flooding, but a single, earth-shattering collapse that preserved a snapshot of a vibrant, living city. The artifacts pulled from the sediment tell a story of immense wealth and global connection. Divers have recovered delicate gold coins and standardized weights from different cultures, the essential tools of international trade. This was the customs house of Egypt, the mandatory port of entry for all Greek ships, a bustling, cosmopolitan center where goods and ideas were exchanged freely. The discovery of a 74-foot-long ritual barge, designed for grand religious processions during the Festival of Osiris, reveals a society deeply entwined with both commerce and spiritual life. The city's advanced engineering is evident in its sprawling harbor works, a network of canals and docks that manage the flow of ships and goods with remarkable efficiency. Heracleion forces us to rewrite the history of the ancient world. It proves that the cultural and economic ties between Egypt and Greece were not a later development of the classical age, but were flourishing centuries earlier in this grand, sunken metropolis. Here was a technological and commercial nerve center, a hub of a maritime network that connected empires. Its tragic end preserved it as a perfect time capsule, a tangible piece of a sunken empire's legacy that challenges us to ask what other legendary gateways still lie hidden, waiting for their stories to be pulled from the deep. Far to the north, in the cold, dark waters of the Baltic, a different kind of mystery rests on the seabed. In 2011, a team of Swedish treasure hunters led by Peter Lindberg was scanning for shipwrecks when their sonar revealed something that defied all expectations. Lying 90 meters below the surface was a massive, circular object 60 meters across, its form unlike any known natural feature. The sonar image showed a perfect disk, punctuated by linear lines and what appeared to be a long, straight staircase leading directly into the abyss. The discovery, instantly dubbed the Baltic Sea Anomaly, ignited a firestorm of speculation that continues to this day. Geologists were quick to offer natural explanations, suggesting it could be a large glacial erratic, a deposit left by a retreating ice age glacier, or perhaps an unusual outcropping of volcanic basalt. Yet the object's stark symmetry and its seemingly constructed features have made a purely geological origin difficult for many to accept. Associate Professor Volker Bruchert, after examining rock samples, conceded that while the main body was likely a natural rock formation, its unique shape might be the result of human modification. Could ancient peoples have encountered this colossal stone and carved it, transforming a natural landmark into a ritual site or a monument? The anomaly's location adds another layer of intrigue. It sits squarely upon an ancient maritime trade route, a prehistoric highway used for thousands of years. This positioning is highly suggestive. In an era when sea levels were lower, this spot could have been an island or a prominent coastal headland. A large, distinctive circular structure would have served as a perfect navigational marker for sailors, a giant stone beacon guiding them through treacherous waters. Alternatively, it might have been the centerpiece of a settlement, a place of gathering and ceremony for a culture whose home was later consumed by the rising post-glacial seas. When you look at its circular design, comparisons to Mediterranean megalithic sites become almost inevitable. The foundational layouts of some Talaiotic villages in Menorca or the circular ritual spaces found across ancient Europe share a similar geometric language. This does not prove a direct connection, but it powerfully hints at a shared architectural instinct, a common way of shaping the world that might have spanned the continent. Despite multiple follow-up expeditions that have captured intriguing, if murky, images and detected unusual radio signal interference near the object, its true nature remains stubbornly unresolved. It is a Rorschach test on the ocean floor, with some seeing a crashed UFO and others a relic from a sunken age. The enduring enigma of the Baltic Sea Anomaly serves a crucial purpose. It reminds us that the Mediterranean, for all its wonders, is not the only keeper of deep secrets. The patterns we see emerging in one sea may simply be local expressions of a global phenomenon, a forgotten chapter of human history written in stone and then submerged, waiting on seabeds across the world for its story to be recovered. The ghost of a Neolithic village sleeps beneath the waves off the Carmel coast, a place called Atlit. This is not a mythical city, but a tangible 8,000-year-old settlement, preserved on the seafloor by the very waters that claimed it. Here, the foundations of stone houses still stand in quiet rows, a neighborhood plan frozen in time. Within these homes, archaeologists led by Ehud Galilee found the seeds of domesticated wheat and barley, proof that these people were not just hunter-gatherers, but established farmers who cultivated crops. They kept domesticated animals, creating a mixed economy that sustained a stable, settled community. A haunting discovery within that community was a skeleton, the bones bearing the telltale lesions of tuberculosis. This is the oldest known case of the disease, a silent witness to the challenges of communal life and a poignant reminder that these were real people with real lives and real struggles. The social fabric of Atlit is further revealed by a mysterious stone circle at its heart, a formation of large rocks arranged with a central stone that may have served as a ritual site, a place for gathering and ceremony. But the true mark of their technological genius lies not in their fields or their rituals, but in the rock beneath their feet. These early engineers carved water wells directly through 10 meters of solid limestone to reach the freshwater aquifers below. This was an incredible feat for a society that had not even developed pottery, a deliberate, complex engineering project that required a deep understanding of their environment and precise communal labor to execute. It proves they were actively managing their water supply, a cornerstone of advanced civilization. Their sophistication extended from the land to the sea. The discovery of intricately carved fishing hooks made from animal bones points to a mastery of deep-sea fishing. This was not casual shoreline gathering. It was a specialized technology that allowed them to harvest the bounty of the open Mediterranean, suggesting the use of boats capable of venturing far from shore. The story of Atlit Yam is one of adaptation and eventual surrender. These people built a complex society on a fertile coast, only to see it slowly consumed by rising sea levels over generations. They are a powerful, sobering lesson from the past. Their submerged world forces us to ask how many other cradles of innovation, how many other societies that first harnessed agriculture and engineering now lie beneath the sea, their stories erased by the relentless tide of a changing climate. The story of sunken cities is not confined to the warm waters of the Mediterranean. On the opposite side of Europe, the cold, grey waves of the North Sea hold the ghost of a city called Dunwich. This was not a village, but a major medieval port, a bustling capital of the Anglo-Saxon kingdom of East Anglia that rivaled London in its influence and wealth. For centuries, it was a hub of trade and technology, until a series of brutal storms in the 13th century began a relentless assault on its fragile coastline. The sea did not just flood Dunwich, it consumed it street by street, church by church, until the entire urban center slipped beneath the waves. Today, the modern village is a tiny echo of the metropolis that once stood here, most of its grandeur now lying on the seabed. Underwater surveys led by researchers like Stuart Bacon have mapped this lost world with sonar, revealing the skeletons of monasteries and the foundations of houses, their outlines tracing the paths of streets that have not felt a footstep in 700 years. This was a technologically advanced settlement for its time. The city boasted sophisticated drainage systems to manage its water, busy shipbuilding yards that produced vessels for trade and war, and even its own royal mint, stamping coins that fueled a regional economy. Its fate is a stark parallel to the Mediterranean ports we have explored, a clear demonstration that the phenomenon of the sunken city is a global, recurring tragedy. The loss of Dunwich was driven by a perfect storm of natural forces and human factors, where coastal erosion and catastrophic weather met a society living on an unstable frontier. This story from the North Sea powerfully broadens our perspective. It shows us that the vulnerability of maritime empires is a constant throughout history. The same forces that claimed a Bronze Age metropolis in Greece also claimed a medieval capital in England. This recurring pattern encourages us to look at every submerged ruin, whether in the Mediterranean or beyond, not as an isolated mystery, but as part of a profound and ongoing dialogue between human civilization and the power of the sea. The art of our most distant ancestors was not confined to dry land. Along the sun-drenched coast of the French Riviera, a series of underwater caves guard a prehistoric legacy far older than any sunken city. The most famous of these is the Cosquer cave, a place of profound mystery discovered by diver Henry Cosquer in 1985. Its entrance lies 37 meters beneath the surface, a submerged tunnel that leads upward into an air-filled cavern that has been sealed for millennia. Inside, the walls are a gallery of Ice Age genius, covered in paintings and engravings that date back 27,000 years. This is not just one scene, but a sprawling chronicle of a lost world. Alongside the expected portraits of bison, ibex, and wild horses are creatures of the deep, beautifully rendered seals and what scientists identify as great auks, birds that have long been extinct. This combination is a powerful clue to the lives of these artists. They were not merely inland hunters, but a coastal people whose survival and spirituality were woven from the resources of both the land and the sea. They documented their entire ecosystem, a testament to a sophisticated observational skill and a deep, intimate knowledge of their environment. These caves were not always isolated by water. During the peak of the last ice age, so much of the world's water was locked in glaciers that the Mediterranean's shoreline was over 100 meters lower than it is today. The entrance to the Cosquer cave would have been high on a hillside, overlooking a vast, fertile coastal plain that is now the seafloor. This was not a temporary camp, but a sanctuary. It served as a sheltered dwelling, and given the sacred nature of the art covering its walls, almost certainly a ritual space for ceremonies we can only imagine. The water that eventually flooded the entrance did more than just hide the cave, it perfectly preserved it. The cool, stable, waterlogged environment acts as a natural time capsule, protecting organic materials that would have crumbled to dust anywhere else. Archaeologists have found fragments of wooden tools and intricate cordage in the silt, rare and precious artifacts that give us a direct look at the everyday technology of these early people. These are not just stones, they are the echoes of complex craft, of knots tied and wood shaped by hands from a time almost unimaginably remote. The work of archaeologists like Luc Vanrel has been crucial in piecing together the cave's dramatic history. By studying the geology and the precise marks left by the rising sea on the cave walls, he has mapped the timeline of its isolation. The water did not rush in all at once. It was a gradual, relentless invasion over thousands of years, eventually cutting off access to this sacred gallery forever. This slow-motion tragedy holds a tantalizing implication. If one such decorated cave was found purely by chance, how many more lie undiscovered along the thousands of kilometers of similarly submerged Mediterranean coastline? The existence of the Cosquer cave suggests that the artistic and spiritual expression of early humans was not a rare phenomenon, but a common part of their culture, practiced in countless shelters that are now accessible only with scuba tanks and a brave heart. These submerged sanctuaries are more than just archaeological sites. They are a direct challenge to our understanding of human progress. They present undeniable evidence that the cognitive capacity for symbolic thought, complex art, and a rich spiritual life was fully developed tens of thousands of years before the rise of agriculture or cities. The people who painted these walls were our intellectual equals, their minds as capable of wonder and genius as our own, their world now silent and waiting beneath the waves. The ambition of Herod the Great was etched not just in stone but in the very sea. On the coast of ancient Judea, he commanded a harbor to be built where none could naturally exist, a port city called Caesarea Maritima. Its heart was Sebastos, a sprawling artificial harbor that stands as one of the most audacious engineering projects of the entire Roman world. Constructed in just 12 years, this was not a simple dock. It was a complete mastery of the elements, a defiant act of creating a safe haven from the unpredictable Mediterranean. The builders faced a relentless shoreline with no natural coves, so they built their own, fabricating two massive breakwaters that reached far out into the open water. The secret to their success was a revolutionary material, a type of hydraulic concrete that could set and harden underwater. They mixed a special volcanic ash known as pozzolana with lime and rubble. When this mixture was poured into enormous wooden forms and submerged, a chemical reaction with the seawater caused it to cure into a rock-hard mass, forming the very foundations of the quays and protective walls on the seafloor itself. This was ancient cutting-edge technology, a formula that would be lost for over 1,000 years after the Roman Empire's decline. Modern excavations, led by archaeologists like Robert L. Hohlfelder, have mapped this sunken marvel. Divers trace the ghostly outlines of the great breakwaters, now lying in broken segments beneath the waves. They have found the remains of a lighthouse that once rivaled the legendary pharaohs of Alexandria, its fallen stones silently testifying to its former glory. The underwater city reveals a complex infrastructure designed for efficiency and protection. Intricate drainage systems channeled water and waste, while covered ship sheds carved from the shoreline offered a safe dry dock for vessels to be repaired and sheltered from violent storms. Caesarea was more than a feat of engineering. It was a pulsating hub of global commerce. The silt of its sunken floors has yielded treasures that map its reach, from delicate Chinese porcelain and Indian spices to Arabian coins. This was a true gateway, a nexus in a trade network that connected the Roman Empire to the distant markets of Asia. Its success was built upon a technological pinnacle that the ancient world would not see again for centuries. Yet this masterpiece of human ingenuity could not withstand the slow, grinding forces of the planet, a combination of tectonic subsidence where the land itself gradually sank, and a series of powerful earthquakes destabilized the elaborate harbor works. The very concrete that defied the water eventually succumbed to the shifting seabed, and over centuries, much of Herod's magnificent port slipped beneath the surface. Caesarea Maritima is a haunting lesson in the fragility of even our greatest achievements. It represents a zenith of knowledge and ambition, a place where human will temporarily conquer the sea, only for that victory to be slowly reclaimed by the very elements it sought to control. The stone walls of the Crusader fortress at Atlit rise defiantly from the waves, a medieval sentinel slowly losing its battle with the sea. Built by the Knights Templar in the early 13th century, this was not just a castle, it was a masterpiece of military engineering, one of the most powerful strongholds in the entire Holy Land. Its design was brilliantly advanced for its time, featuring concentric rings of walls so that even if an enemy breached the outer defenses, they would be trapped in a killing zone before the inner fortifications. It boasted a deep, protected harbor, allowing the Templars to control the coastal sea lanes and resupply their garrison even under siege. Today, the Mediterranean has claimed that harbor and the fortress's lower levels, creating an eerie underwater city where fish now swim through the same gatehouses that once admitted armored knights. Archaeological dives into these submerged chambers have recovered more than just history. They have recovered the texture of daily life. From the silt, divers have brought up everyday pottery, the very plates and jugs used by the soldiers, along with rusted weapons and scattered coins that once paid for supplies in the bustling courtyards. The fortress itself is a physical record of technological exchange. Its core design, with those towering concentric walls and massive rounded towers, was a direct import from European castle-building traditions. Yet the builders adapted this imported knowledge to the local environment, using materials and construction methods suited to the Levantine coast, demonstrating a practical fusion of ideas across continents. This sunken fortress offers a unique preservation laboratory. The same seawater that flooded its chambers has protected its lower masonry from the erosion that weathers the stones above the surface. This allows researchers like Adrian Bowers to study the original construction techniques in remarkable detail, from the foundation work to the mortar composition, giving us an unparalleled look at Crusader engineering. Atlit stands as a crucial bridge in time. It connects the sunken Bronze Age cities and Roman ports we have explored to a much more recent chapter, proving that the sea's claim on our infrastructure is not confined to a distant, mythical past. Here, the Middle Ages lie partially submerged, a stark reminder that even the formidable works of a military religious order, backed by the latest technology of their day, were not immune to the slow, inexorable rise of the waters. The sheer fury of Thera's eruption is almost beyond comprehension. Around the year 1600 before the Common Era, this volcano in the Aegean Sea did not simply explode. It tore itself apart in one of the most catastrophic events our planet has ever witnessed. The blast was heard across thousands of miles, and its ash cloud darkened skies as far away as China. But the true devastation was reserved for the sophisticated civilization living in its shadow. The Minoans of Crete had built a society of stunning elegance and technological prowess, with vast palace complexes featuring intricate plumbing, flush toilets, and advanced drainage systems that would not be rivaled for over 1,000 years. They were a maritime power, their ships connecting a trade network that spanned the Mediterranean. And in a single, terrible day, their world ended. The eruption's shockwave generated a tsunami, a wall of water that raced across the sea to smash into the northern coast of Crete, scouring its harbors and drowning its coastal cities. Then came the ash, a suffocating blanket of volcanic material that buried farmland and choked the life from the island, leading to a rapid and irreversible collapse. The volcano itself could not withstand its own violence. Its center collapsed into the now emptied magma chamber, vanishing beneath the waves in a series of titanic landslides that created the vast, deep caldera we see today as the island of Santorini. This geological transformation did more than reshape an island. It swallowed the epicenter of the disaster whole, potentially dragging other Minoan settlements on Thera itself into the abyss. Underwater surveys in the caldera's depths continue to search for these sunken remnants, the lost pieces of a shattered world. On what remains of the island at the site of Akrotiri, the work of archaeologist Spiridon Marinatos revealed a city frozen in time. Excavations that began in the 1960s uncovered a Bronze Age metropolis preserved under meters of volcanic pumice, a Mediterranean Pompeii centuries older than its Roman counterpart. Here were multi-story buildings standing intact, their walls adorned with breathtaking frescoes depicting vibrant landscapes, flotillas of ships, and daily life in astonishing detail. This was not a primitive village, but an urban center with sophisticated, earthquake-resistant architecture and complex, managed water systems. The artistic and technological achievements on display are a haunting glimpse of what was lost. The sudden silencing of the Minoans left a void in the Mediterranean that would take centuries to fill, a collapse so complete it echoes through myth as the story of Atlantis. Thera stands as the ultimate warning, a dramatic demonstration of how a single natural cataclysm can erase an advanced society, burying its greatest traces under layers of rock and water. If a civilization this brilliant could be so utterly forgotten, what other empires might have been lost to similar fates, their secrets still locked away beneath the seabed? While the fury of Thera erased a civilization, the slow breath of the earth near Naples has preserved a different kind of treasure. The Bay of Naples holds underwater cemeteries and villas that were once the exclusive playgrounds of Rome's most powerful citizens. This is not the story of a sudden cataclysm, but of a landscape slowly breathing in and out over centuries, a phenomenon known as bradisism. Driven by the immense volcanic pressures of the Phlegrean fields, the land here gradually rises and falls, and over 2 millennia, it has allowed the sea to reclaim entire neighborhoods of breathtaking opulence. At Punta Epitafio, the submerged ruins of a luxury villa include a nymphaeum, a lavish banquet hall dedicated to the nymphs. Here, statues of Dionysus and his companions now stand in silent congregation beneath several meters of water, their marble forms once overlooking feasts for the elite, now observed only by schools of fish. These were not simple summer homes, but marvels of engineering designed for ultimate comfort and pleasure. The Romans built intricate hydraulic systems that piped fresh water directly into these seaside residences, supplying heated baths and even sophisticated fish ponds where they would farm seafood for their tables. They expertly channeled the region's volcanic thermal springs, creating natural saunas and spas for both leisure and health, a technology that exploited the very geological instability that would eventually claim their creations. The submergence has been so precise that archaeologists like Filippo Avila have mapped a sunken Roman road near the city of Baia, its stone paving leading to nowhere, a ghostly pathway on the seafloor that proves entire sections of the coastline simply sank, preserving a perfect cross-section of daily life. The Bay of Naples is an unparalleled underwater museum, its galleries filled with mosaics, statuary, and the foundations of sprawling villas. This slow-motion drowning did not destroy this world, it protected it, sealing a snapshot of Roman technological and artistic achievement in a cold, dark time capsule. These sunken palaces show a society that mastered its environment to create unparalleled luxury, their legacy now resting in the gentle custody of the sea, waiting for us to read its stones. The same geological forces that buried cities also concealed the very highways that first brought humanity to Europe. Today, the Adriatic Sea appears as a wide blue barrier separating Italy from the Balkans, but its floor holds the ghost of an entirely different world. During the last ice age, this entire basin was a vast, exposed plain, a cold but fertile landscape crisscrossed by powerful river systems. The mighty Po River did not end at today's coastline. It flowed for hundreds of kilometers more across this dry shelf, carving a deep channel through valleys and wetlands before finally reaching the sea far to the south. Sonar mapping has meticulously charted these sunken riverbeds, their meandering paths now preserved in stunning detail on the seabed. These were not just waterways, they were natural land bridges, corridors of life that connected populations and provided a route for the earliest human explorers moving into southern Europe. The evidence for this is no longer circumstantial. Dredging and core sampling in these ancient channels have pulled up the definitive proof: stone tools crafted by Paleolithic hunters and the massive bones of mammoths that once roamed these grassy lowlands. This was a thriving ecosystem, a hunter's paradise now lying silently under 100 meters of seawater. Researchers like Fabio Trincardi have analyzed sediment cores from these riverbeds, reading the layers of mud and silt like a history book. Their work reconstructs a paleo-environment of incredible richness, with freshwater sources, lush vegetation, and abundant game, a landscape perfectly suited to support nomadic human bands. The submergence of this world was not a slow, gentle process. As the great ice sheets melted starting around 12,000 years ago, the rising Mediterranean rushed back into the Adriatic basin, transforming it from a continental crossroads into an inland sea in a relatively short span of time. This event was a cataclysm for the people living there, drowning their hunting grounds and severing the land connection between Italy and the Balkans. Isolated populations would have lost contact, and with that isolation, unique cultural knowledge and technologies may have vanished forever, lost to the rising tide. This hidden geography fundamentally challenges the map of human prehistory. It suggests that the peopling of Europe was not a story written solely on the dry land we see today, but a much more complex drama played out across landscapes that are now part of the continental shelf. The Adriatic's sunken riverbeds are a profound reminder that the foundations of later civilizations, the very first footsteps into new territories, were laid on lands that now form the seabed, waiting for advanced marine archaeology to read their lost stories. The very stone that built the classical world was pulled from sources now lost to the sea. Off the coast of Greece, the islands of the Aegean hide underwater quarries where the marble for legendary temples and statues was born. At Cape Vani, divers can run their hands over the submerged bedrock and feel the precise, parallel grooves left by bronze and iron tools, grooves that mark where massive blocks were painstakingly cut free. These quarries did not slowly flood. They were dropped into the deep by the same tectonic shifts that constantly reshape this volatile region, sinking entire work sites and preserving them in a state of suspended animation. Here, the extraction process is frozen in time. You can find colossal, partially carved columns still attached to the living rock, abandoned at the very moment the land gave way. Nearby, scattered tools and ceramic fragments from the workers' meals offer a ghostly echo of the labor that once echoed across these cliffs. Marine archaeologist Elpida Hajidaki has dedicated years to studying these sunken sites, piecing together the incredible logistics of ancient industry. Her work reveals how these coastal quarries were not just mines but sophisticated ports. The builders carved loading ramps that sloped directly into the water, allowing them to maneuver cut stones onto waiting barges with a system of ropes, rollers, and sheer human strength. This was a maritime assembly line, a direct harnessing of the sea to fuel architectural ambition on a monumental scale. The marble pulled from these quarries did not stay local. It traveled across the waves, its distinctive grain appearing in the very heart of Athenian glory, the Parthenon. This journey from a submerged quarry floor to the pinnacle of the Acropolis speaks of a vast and highly organized trade network, a supply chain that connected remote islands to the greatest cities of the age. The water that claimed these sites became their greatest protector. While quarries on land were often stripped bare by later generations or repurposed until their original form was erased, these submerged workshops remain pristine. They are time capsules of industrial archaeology, offering an unspoiled record of Bronze Age and classical techniques side by side. We can see how methods evolved over centuries, all within the same sunken landscape. These quarries are a powerful testament to ancient resourcefulness, a reminder that the magnificent structures we admire on land have a hidden, half-drowned history. They connect the raw material to the finished marvel, forcing us to see the entire life cycle of these ancient wonders, a cycle that begins not in a sunlit temple, but in the silent, blue depths of a vanished worksite. The silent, salt-crusted basins off Sicily's coast hold the ghost of an ancient industry. Beneath the clear, shallow water, the outlines of ceramic evaporation pans and carefully carved channels form a sprawling aquatic factory floor. This was not a place of worship or royal power, but a center of vital, gritty production, where seawater was methodically transformed into one of the most valuable commodities of the ancient world, salt. For civilizations like the Phoenicians and Romans, salt was far more than a seasoning. It was a fundamental pillar of the economy. It preserved fish and meat, allowing for long-distance trade and winter survival. So crucial was its role that Roman soldiers were often paid in salt, a practice that gives us our word salary. The work of archaeologists like Sebastiano Tusa has meticulously documented these sunken facilities, tracing their operation to periods when salt itself was a form of currency. The very submergence that hid these sites for centuries also became their greatest protector. In the cold, oxygen-poor silt, materials that would have vanished on land have been miraculously preserved. Divers have recovered fragile wooden scrapers used to harvest the salt crystals and the delicate impressions of baskets that carried the precious mineral, offering a tangible, intimate connection to the workers who manned these pans. The design of the pans reveals a sophisticated understanding of the coastal environment. Builders positioned them to maximize exposure to the sun and wind, while intricate channel systems carefully managed the flow of seawater, controlling the evaporation process with remarkable precision. This was not a haphazard operation. It was a technology honed through generations of observation and innovation, a deliberate engineering of nature for economic gain. These submerged workplaces force us to expand our definition of ancient technology. the lost empire we seek was not built on grand computers and towering temples alone, but also on the foundation of countless practical industries like this one. The salt pans of Sicily are a quiet, powerful testament to the everyday ingenuity that fueled entire civilizations. Their presence underwater suggests a vast, hidden industrial landscape along the Mediterranean's sunken shores, a network of production and trade that connected this potential empire from its ports down to its most fundamental resources. Far from the warm Mediterranean waters, the cold, dark depths of the Black Sea guard a submerged world of their own. In 2016, divers exploring the coast of Bulgaria made a startling discovery: an entire forest of ancient oak trees standing upright on the seafloor. These were not petrified stone, but preserved wood, their trunks and branches eerily intact after more than 7,000 years. This incredible survival is due to the Black Sea's unique anoxic conditions, where the deep water holds almost no oxygen, preventing the bacteria and organisms that normally cause wood to rot. These trees once grew on dry, fertile land, a landscape that was violently transformed around 5,600 before the Common Era. At that time, a natural dam at the Bosporus Strait catastrophically failed, and the rising waters of the Mediterranean came thundering in, flooding the vast freshwater basin below with salt water. This event was so sudden and so immense that it drowned an area the size of Ireland, swallowing the coastal plains and the forests that grew upon them in what might have been a single human lifetime. Some researchers, like Professor John Adams, see a direct link between this cataclysm and the ancient flood myths found in cultures around the world, including the story of Noah's Ark. The submerged forest is more than just a collection of trees, it is a time capsule. The preserved pollen grains found in the sediment around their roots offer scientists a perfect snapshot of the prehistoric climate and the types of plants that thrived there, painting a picture of a lush, resource-rich environment. This was a land capable of supporting human life, and the flooding would have been a disaster of unimaginable proportions for any communities living along that ancient shore. Professor Adams proposes a radical idea that this very event may have triggered a mass exodus of early farmers, forcing them to flee inland and upriver, carrying their knowledge of agriculture with them and seeding this revolutionary technology across the European continent. The implications are staggering. The rise of European farming, a cornerstone of our civilization, may have been propelled by a lost homeland now lying at the bottom of the Black Sea. This parallel mystery powerfully reinforces the Mediterranean narrative. It suggests that the sunken coastlines we are exploring are not isolated tragedies, but part of a global pattern of climatic upheaval that has repeatedly reshaped human destiny. The Black Sea's underwater forests stand as a silent, haunting reminder that our past is written on landscapes we can no longer see, landscapes that hold the keys to understanding the displaced cultures and lost technologies that may have first emerged along the Mediterranean's own vanished shores. These silent shipwrecks are more than just tombs, they are time capsules of a lost world's ambition. Scattered across the Mediterranean seabed, these sunken vessels form a submerged museum of maritime technology and global trade. One of the most spectacular exhibits is the Uluburun shipwreck, discovered off the coast of Turkey. Dating to the 14th century before the Common Era, this single vessel carried a king's ransom in raw materials and luxury goods. Its hull was packed with 10 tons of copper ingots shaped like ox hides, alongside blue glass, elephant tusks, and ebony logs, a cargo sourced from at least 7 different cultures spanning from the Baltic to the Nile. This was not a local trader, but an oceanic freighter connecting empires. The ship itself was a marvel of engineering. Its planks were not nailed together, but joined with a sophisticated technique called mortise and tenon. Artisans would carve a projecting tongue, the tenon, on one plank and fit it perfectly into a matching slot, the mortise, on another, then secure it with a wooden peg. This created a hull that was both incredibly strong and flexible, able to withstand the punishing forces of the open sea on voyages that lasted for months. It was this advanced woodworking that made long-distance trade possible, allowing for the exchange of not just goods, but the very ideas that fueled technological progress. Underwater archaeologists like George Bass pioneered the meticulous science of excavating these sites, carefully mapping the position of every artifact as if it were a crime scene from the ancient world. Their work recovers more than just treasure, it recovers the tools of the trade. In the cold, dark depths where oxygen is scarce, organic materials that would have vanished on land are preserved for millennia. From the silt of these wrecks, divers have recovered delicate wooden writing tablets, intricate navigational tools like lead-sounding weights used to measure depth, and even early versions of the astrolabe for plotting a course by the stars. These ships were the lifelines of their age, the physical internet connecting ports from the Levant to the Aegean. The sheer number of wrecks discovered tells its own story, one of a vibrant but perilous maritime economy where the rewards of trade were worth the immense risks of storm, piracy, and shipwreck. Each sunken vessel is a frozen moment, a snapshot of the technological ceiling of its era. From a Bronze Age trader like the Uluburan to a massive Roman cargo ship laden with amphorae of wine and oil, these wrecks form a chronological ladder of innovation. They are the crucial, tangible evidence we need to reconstruct the puzzle of a sunken technological empire, proving that these ancient societies were not isolated villages, but interconnected nodes in a global network of astonishing sophistication. The same engineering genius that fueled Roman cities also stretched beneath the waves to conquer a more fundamental challenge, water itself. Off the coast of modern Tunisia, the ghost of ancient Carthage holds a secret not of temples or treasure, but of pure, life-giving sustenance. Here, beneath the Mediterranean surface, lie the submerged arches of colossal aqueducts, their stone channels now carrying only schools of fish. After the Romans rebuilt Carthage, they faced an immense logistical problem: how to supply a thriving metropolis in a region with limited freshwater sources. Their solution was an act of hydrological defiance, a network of aqueducts stretching over 100 kilometers from distant mountain springs. These were not simple trenches, they were masterpieces of applied physics. Roman engineers calculated gradients with astonishing precision, ensuring a steady, gentle flow that was neither too slow to stagnate nor too fast to erode the delicate lead and ceramic pipes. They built intricate sedimentation tanks where water would pause, allowing grit and impurities to settle out before the clean liquid continued its journey to the city's fountains, baths, and homes. Underwater surveys led by archaeologists like Dr. Necip Ben Lazreg have mapped sections where these mighty structures cross now drowned valleys, proving that the Roman coastline extended far beyond its current boundaries. The discovery of lead pipes and ceramic conduits resting intact on the seafloor is a stunning testament to the durability of their materials, engineered to last for millennia even in a corrosive marine environment. This was not a technology reserved for the capital, it was a standard implemented across the empire, a core principle of urban life. The submergence of these aqueducts was a slow-motion tragedy, the result of both rising sea levels and the land itself gradually sinking over centuries. Each submerged arch is a silent lesson in priorities, showing that a civilization's true technological peak is measured not just by its grand monuments, but by its ability to provide for the basic needs of its people. If the Romans could build such enduring, advanced water systems here, How many other similar networks from forgotten empires might lie undiscovered along the sunken shores of the Mediterranean, their channels waiting to be traced back to a lost source? Stone piles on the ocean floor mark a mystery that stretches beyond the Mediterranean. Off the eastern coast of Lanzarote in the Canary Islands, the shallow seabed is dotted with strange formations, deliberate stacks of volcanic rock that look unsettlingly like the ancient cairns built by the island's first people, the Guanche. These submerged stone circles and mounds rest in waters that were once dry, wind-swept plains, a landscape that has since been claimed by the Atlantic. The Guanche, a people of North African Berber origin who lived in isolation for centuries, are known for constructing identical cairns on dry land, using them as burial tombs and ceremonial sites. The haunting resemblance is impossible to ignore. Could these underwater structures be the work of the same hands, built at a time when the coastline extended far out into what is now the open ocean? Underwater archaeologist Pablo Atoch has led the investigation into these enigmatic sites, carefully mapping and analyzing the formations. His work grapples with a fundamental question: were these cairns built on dry land that later sank, or do they point to a Guanche society more comfortable with the sea than we ever believed? The islands themselves are a product of immense volcanic forces, and tectonic shifts could have caused local subsidence, gradually lowering the coastline and submerging these structures. Alternatively, the global rise in sea levels following the last ice age could have slowly flooded these coastal plains, preserving the cairns in a watery time capsule, safe from the disturbances of the modern world. If these stones were placed by human intention, their implications are profound. They would force us to rewrite the history of the Guanche, transforming them from an isolated island culture into a people with a maritime tradition, a society that lived, worked, and performed rituals on a continental shelf that is now forever lost. This discovery blurs the hard line we often draw between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic. It suggests that the technological practices and spiritual beliefs of ancient North African cultures could have traveled along forgotten sea routes, leaving their signature on islands far from the mainland. The underwater cairns of the Canaries are a quiet but powerful piece of the larger puzzle. They remind us that the traces of sunken worlds are not confined to a single sea, but are waiting along all the ancient coastlines of the world, encouraging us to cast our net ever wider in the search for lost empires. The warm, shallow waters of Italy's Gulf of Taranto hide a gallery of sunken luxury. Here, the sprawling ruins of Roman villas Maritima rest on the seabed, their mosaic floors and crumbling walls now home to swaying seagrass and curious fish. These were not simple country homes, but extravagant coastal palaces designed for the ultimate in leisure and status, built by the Roman elite to showcase their wealth and sophistication. Each villa was a self-contained haven of comfort, featuring sophisticated heated bath complexes and intricate saltwater pools that functioned as personal fish farms, ensuring a constant supply of fresh seafood for lavish banquets. The submersion of these grand residences was a gradual process, driven by the relentless subsidence of the local coastline. Over centuries, the very ground these villas stood upon slowly sank, allowing the Mediterranean to reclaim its territory inch by inch, until the marble colonnades and courtyards were permanently flooded. This slow-motion drowning, however, became an incredible act of preservation. The cold, dark, oxygen-poor silt has protected delicate organic materials that would have vanished on land. Underwater archaeologists like Rita Orima have recovered stunningly intact wooden furniture, remnants of woven textiles, and even the carbonized seeds and shells from the last meals enjoyed by the inhabitants, offering a vivid, almost tangible picture of daily life. The engineering within these villas was as impressive as their opulence. They were equipped with complex water systems that piped fresh water from distant sources for drinking and bathing, while other channels efficiently carried waste away. The architecture itself was a form of environmental technology. Thick walls and strategically placed windows created passive cooling during the scorching summer months, while ingenious hypocaust systems, which channeled hot air under the floors, provided warmth in the winter. These homes were masterclasses in making luxury sustainable long before the concept had a name. The work of mapping these sites reveals a starkly beautiful landscape of loss. Aurima's detailed surveys show how the Roman elite completely transformed the coastline, reshaping nature itself to serve their desire for comfort and spectacle. This very ambition, however, placed their greatest achievements directly in the path of geological forces beyond their control. Their fate is a powerful and timeless lesson on the vulnerability of coastal development, a warning that resonates deeply in our own era of rising sea levels. These sunken villas are more than just beautiful ruins, they are microcosms of the entire Roman technological empire. In their silent halls, we see a society that had mastered the art of living well, blending aesthetics with practical innovation to create a world of comfort that would not be seen again for over 1,000 years. They offer us an intimate glimpse into the private lives of the ancient world's most powerful citizens, whose dreams of eternal leisure now rest in the gentle, perpetual custody of the sea. The Ionian seafloor holds a pattern that should not be there. Between the coasts of Italy and Greece, in the perpetual twilight 50 to 100 meters down, sonar scans have painted a puzzling picture. The seabed is marked by long, linear ridges and startlingly geometric shapes that look like the ghostly blueprints of forgotten walls and foundations. These formations rest on what was once a vast, dry coastal plain, a landscape that thrived during the last great ice age when sea levels were dramatically lower. The official geological explanation points toward natural processes, suggesting these are simply exposed layers of beach rock or fractured limestone, shaped by millennia of tidal action. Yet their persistent regularity, the way these lines and right angles repeat across the dark silt, has stubbornly resisted a purely natural answer. Could we be looking at the skeletal remains of prehistoric coastal settlements, the foundational stones of villages that once looked out over a fertile valley now drowned? Or perhaps they are the remnants of sophisticated fishing weirs, massive stone traps built to channel and catch fish by a people who understood the rhythms of the sea. The Ionian region is a geological powder keg, a zone crisscrossed by fault lines where the African plate grinds against Eurasia. This entire area has been repeatedly shaken by catastrophic earthquakes and devastated by tsunamis throughout history. Such an event could have struck without warning, causing the ground to liquefy or sending a colossal wave to scour the coastline, dragging entire communities and their stone structures into the deep in a single, terrifying day. This rapid submergence could have sealed these sites in a protective layer of sediment, preserving them exactly as they fell. Researchers like Dr. Maria Cautsuvelli are now leading a meticulous investigation, deploying advanced remote sensing equipment to map every contour of these enigmatic reefs. Her work involves creating high-resolution, three-dimensional models of the structures, then digitally comparing their geometry and spatial organization to the layouts of known archaeological sites from similar periods. They are searching for the subtle fingerprints of human intention, the telltale signs of tool marks on stone, or the specific patterns of assembly that nature alone would be hard-pressed to replicate. The debate over these Ionian structures cuts to the very heart of the mystery we are exploring. If they are indeed artificial, they become another powerful piece of evidence for a sophisticated prehistoric presence on the Mediterranean's sunken continental shelf. They would represent not a lone village, but a network of coastal communities with the collective knowledge to modify their environment on a significant scale. Yet, even if geology is the sole artist here, the very fact that these formations so perfectly mimic human construction is profoundly revealing. It forces us to look more carefully, to question our assumptions, and to recognize that the line between a natural rock and a worked stone on the ocean floor is often terrifyingly thin. These submerged reefs, whether a product of human hands or planetary forces, stand as a silent challenge, daring us to look deeper and see more clearly into the Mediterranean's lost world. The same volcanic fury that preserved a library also hints at a world of lost knowledge beneath the waves. While the ruins of the Villa of the Papyri in Herculaneum are not fully submerged, the sea has claimed its lower levels, creating a waterlogged environment that has safeguarded its most precious treasure. This Roman villa was buried under superheated ash during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, a cataclysm that carbonized its entire library of papyrus scrolls into blackened, brittle logs. For centuries, these scrolls were considered unreadable, their secrets locked inside without a key. Today, with advanced imaging techniques like high-resolution X-ray phase contrast tomography, scientists can virtually unroll these ancient documents, peering into their carbonized layers to reveal texts on Epicurean philosophy and scientific thought. This is not merely the recovery of old books, it is the resurrection of a complete classical library from the ashes. The implications ripple far beyond a single villa. If one library survived such a violent end, could entire repositories of knowledge be resting in the cold, dark silt of the Mediterranean? Near the sunken city of Canopus, close to Alexandria, underwater excavations have already recovered inscribed stone tablets and lead artifacts, proving that written records can endure for millennia on the seabed. The magic lies in the unique conditions of preservation. Deep, anoxic mud devoid of oxygen halts the decay of organic materials like papyrus, leather, and wood. Volcanic ash creates a sterile, airtight seal, freezing a moment in time. Imagine a submerged scriptorium, a workshop where scribes copied technical manuals, its shelves now collapsed but its precious scrolls protected in a thick, preserving ooze. What if we were to find a sunken archive containing the engineering schematics for devices like the Antikythera Mechanism, or astronomical charts mapping celestial movements unknown to modern science, or medical texts describing surgical procedures and herbal remedies lost to history? Such a discovery would be the ultimate key, providing direct, written evidence of the technological empire we are searching for. It would move the investigation from interpreting silent stones to reading the actual words of its builders. The quest for these underwater archives is what drives marine archaeologists to meticulously sift through the sediment of every potential site. The dream of finding a lost library, a complete repository of a civilization's intellect, remains one of the most compelling and exciting prospects in this entire search, for it holds the promise of finally giving a voice to the silent, sunken world. Our journey through the depths reveals a Mediterranean sea that is far more than a body of water. It is the graveyard of lost worlds. From the silent streets of Pavlopetri to the celestial gears of the Antikythera Mechanism, each discovery is a piece of a vast and forgotten puzzle. These are not random artifacts, they are the scattered legacy of a potential technological empire, a network of maritime cultures whose achievements in engineering and organization rival our own in many ways. Together, they challenge the very core of our history, forcing us to abandon the comfortable idea of linear progress. They suggest a past punctuated by brilliant rises and catastrophic falls, where advanced societies could emerge, flourish, and vanish long before our oldest legends were ever written. The evidence is fragmentary, pulled from the silt and the darkness, yet it paints a compelling portrait of a past we are only beginning to appreciate. As our own world faces the dual forces of climate change and geological instability, the fate of these sunken realms offers a sobering lesson in the fragility of human ambition. Their stones whisper a warning about the temporary nature of even our greatest creations. This exploration leaves us with a profound and haunting question. What other secrets lie buried beneath the waves, waiting for the curious and the brave to uncover them? Let this journey inspire you to look beyond the shoreline and question the stories we have always been told about our past. The Mediterranean's depths hold more than water. They hold the keys to understanding our shared and mysterious heritage. If these deep dives into history's greatest mysteries captivate you, subscribe for more, and we would love to hear which of these sunken traces you find most intriguing. Share your thoughts in the comments below.